hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2506. Yes, we're getting up there in numbers. DNA can uncover surprises, and genealogy helps explain them. So you've all seen me talk about this book. This book in the past. This is my little DNA Bible, if you will. It helps me understand DNA testing and the genetic genealogy and all of that sort of stuff, because there are surprises that comes up. And in here, it even has a whole chapter on ethics and genetic genealogy. So when you are doing a genealogy DNA test for somebody else, like if you've asked them to do a test and you're managing the test and everything else, you're the ones that gets the results. You're the one that passes it on to the person whose DNA it is. It basically talks about who you can talk to and who you can't. It becomes for ethics, it becomes the results are you can only share the results with the person whose DNA test it is. You can't turn around and find something surprising in there and then turn around and go, this person isn't related to that person. Oh, I need to go talk to their mother, their father, their grandparent, whatever, to find out what happened. You can't do that. No, you can only share the results with the person whose DNA test it is. And it talks about the ethics in there. It also talks about it that if you are doing the test for somebody else, like if you're getting someone to do the test for you, you have to disclose that surprises will come up. It is inevitable with DNA. Surprises will come up. There could be surprises like the person is not blood related to their family. It could be the person is blood related to their family, but they are not part of the family. They are part of a little side bit that happened over here. So you can find all sorts of different things. Your brother may not be your brother, and all these sorts of questions. Excuse me. Need to have some honey. Haven't had my honey today. So there's all sorts of surprises that will come up during doing a DNA test. So DNA testing has changed family history research in remarkable ways. It really has. Every day, people discover unexpected DNA matches that raise new questions about their family story. Sometimes those discoveries are exciting, sometimes they are surprising, and sometimes they completely change what a person thought they knew about their family history. DNA can uncover unknown relatives, previously hidden family connections, adoption stories, unexpected parentage discoveries, family branches that were never discussed. You can find, I've got one in my family. There is a black sheep in our family, and I didn't even know he existed until I got a DNA. Well, two things happened at once. One, my parents sent me a newspaper article about the black sheep in the family and said, where do they fit into the family? And so I had to go and figure that out. And then number two was that I ended up with a DNA connection with somebody in that branch of the family. Connection, and it will also uncover connections across countries and generations. But DNA is only the beginning. A DNA match may reveal that a connection exists. Genealogy helps explain how the people are related, which ancestor you share, what happened in the generations in between, the historical context behind the discovery, the human story behind the DNA result. DNA often provides the clue. Genealogy helps uncover the story, because every unexpected match, every surprise discovery, and every new connection represents real people, real lives, and real family history. The goal is not simply to discover connections, it is to understand them. And I actually have a DNA connection in my family where I came across a half-third cousin. And you're going to say, how do you get a half-third cousin? Very simply, we share a common second great-grandmother. Our second great-grandfathers are different. I'm off my second great-grandmother was married twice. Her first husband was killed in a mining accident. That is the line that I come from. He is my second great-grandfather. Her second great-grandfather was the second marriage to that second great-grandmother. So she got married later and had some more kids, and she descends from one of those kids from that side of it. So we've got two different. Sorry, hang on. Relax. Now I can lift. No, hang on. Relax properly. Got to relax, and then I can lift my arm. Excuse me. Not sure what's going on with it, but anyway. So we had the first great-grandfather, the first marriage, which is where I descend from. My half-third cousin is from the second marriage. So that's how we get a half-third cousin. But here's the thing, is that we know, her and I have had discussions about this back and forth and all of that sort of thing. She has not contacted her birth father's family, which is who her and I had shared the DNA connection through, because she didn't want to disrupt their lives. She was born from an affair and has not contacted her birth father's family. So we found out exactly where she fitted in with everything, and so that was kind of really cool. We had lots of cool discussions going backwards and forwards about this. And then there's other ones where I have, like I said, there's a black sheep in the family, and I didn't even know he existed until my mother sent me a newspaper article about him. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started doing some digging deeper, and found all this other stuff, found out where he fitted into the family tree. Then later on, within a week of that, I got this DNA match showed up, and it was actually the daughter of this guy that I had been researching. And because of the circumstances surrounding everything with her father, she has changed her name and completely removed herself from the family. She wants nothing to do with the family and completely removed herself, but she was happy to talk about the DNA connection. And fill in some gaps. And I was very sensitive to it because it was a very sensitive situation. And the story was really intriguing and scary at the same time. It was very intriguing and very scary at the same time. But we were able to have a discussion that didn't touch on what her father had done and everything else. But she had years ago moved away from the family and to a different part of the country and completely changed her name. And I said, to be honest, after reading the story, I don't blame you at all. And so she has nothing to do with her family any further because of what her father had done. So very interesting stories that come up when you are doing DNA testing and things like that. You know, you discover new family branches, and that's okay. She was fine with that. She put her DNA results out there, and we got the match. And so we figured out how it all happened and that. Then I've got other ones who I have figured out the possible connections and sent them the information and haven't heard from them again. So it's very interesting. I love going in and seeing if there's any messages from anybody. And no, that's not. Why does it show me notifications and not messages? Excuse me. And some of them has been over, and we find that when I message them through Ancestry, it does take a while for people to. Some people will reply kind of quickly, which is like the same day or the next day or within a week. That's considered quick. Within a week is considered quickly. Others may not contact you for a couple of years. So you always put the messages out there. You always check to see if you've got new messages and that sort of stuff. And whenever I come up across a match where I think I know where the connection is, I will contact them, say, hey, we've had this DNA match, and from my do you have any of these names in your tree? Because I think this is where you come in, and on this side of the family and that side of the family, da, 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 da. So it's always interesting to see what you come up with. And you can have some really cool discussions with things. And I have had some great discussions with distant cousins. I've got a couple that I'm now, 3 of them that I'm now friends with on Facebook. And we follow each other and comment on each other's posts and that sort of stuff. But they're 7th cousins and 7th cousins once removed, but that's okay. They're really cool people, and they're part of and I have a DNA match with one of them. I have a DNA match with the 7th cousin, but not his first cousin, who is from that same line. And then I have a DNA match with my 7th cousin once removed, who is their first cousin once removed. I have a DNA match with him. So there's the 3 of us that have connected. The 7th cousin once removed is in Canada. The other 2 are in Wales. And it's been fun getting to know them and having conversations with them back and forth and messages and that sort of thing. And here is the crazy part. I was talking with somebody the other day about dopplingers, about people who look like other people. When I was on the cruise, this couple came down. They had this gorgeous little boy with them. They came and sat on the group cruise that I was in April. We had a group of tables together, and the idea was to sit with different people every night. And so this couple was sitting next to me, and I just could not stop staring at her face. And I apologize. I said, look, I apologize that I keep staring at your face. I said, but you are a spitting image of my niece. And she's like, really? I said, yeah. And I pulled up a picture of my niece that had been taken not even a year before and showed it like 6 months beforehand and showed it to her. And her and her husband were like, wow. And so then later on, I got a picture with her. So when I met up with Brad's family in Cabo for my nephew's wedding, I looked at my niece and I says, I have something to show you that's going to blow your mind. And she's sort of like, what? And of course, as soon as I said that, the other cousins were all like, what? And all came over and they got around my phone and I showed them the photograph and they were all like, whoa. As far as I know, there is no DNA connection between the families, but then we didn't talk genealogy at the time. It would be good to go back and have a look. And they all agreed they were a spitting image of each other. It was just uncanny. And what was I going? Oh yeah, and so my 7th cousin, who was in Wales, I was looking at a picture of him one day, and this is new into our friendship. And so I said to him, I said, can you tell me who's sitting around the table? And he said that he was the one that was sitting there. And I said, that is interesting. He goes, well, I said, you look like my uncle on my dad's side of the family. And he's on my mum's side of the family. And he's like, really? I said, yeah. So I sent him a picture of my uncle and he's like, oh, we do kind of look similar. And so I sent this picture. So I sent this group picture to my mum and said, do you recognize it? And mum and dad said, do you recognize anybody in here? Or does anybody look like anybody that you know? And they both came back and went, no. And I said, well, the guy on the left-hand side, I said, is my 7th cousin through Scandalberries. And I said, when I saw this picture, I immediately thought of Uncle Barry, which is my dad's youngest brother. And they went back and had a look and went, oh, yeah, it kind of does look like Uncle Barry, doesn't he? And I says, yeah. And she goes, and which side of the family is on? I says, your side of the family. And so that was kind of funny that my dad's youngest brother looks like my 7th cousin who is on my mum's side of the family and lives in Wales. It was, I tell you, I'm coming up with all these people. Like, people used to look at my husband Brad, and say that he looked like, what was the name of the actor? Philip Seymour Hoffman. And we got it a lot of times. Have I ever told you that you look like Philip Seymour Hoffman? And when the first time we heard it, we got home, I said to Brad, I said, who was that guy that they say you look like? And so I went and looked up and went, yeah, you kind of do. And then there was this, and then we were in Orlando at one time and staying at the resort there. And there was a photo that was put up of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he's sitting in the chair facing this way. So I got Brad to sit in the chair outside facing this way. So they're kind of looking at each other, and put the two pictures side by side, and we put it up on Facebook. The comments were unbelievable. People were going, oh my gosh, does he know that you look like him? You could be a stand-in for him. It was uncanny about how much alike these two looked like. And it was just, I find them all over the place. I see family photos and go, oh, that looks like such and such. And yes, you can see when you're looking back at old family photos, you can see the genes working in the family as far as the looks go. We've got one of my second great-grandmother with her second great-grandmother. Yes, with her children from the first marriage, children from the second marriage, standing around her and her second husband. And there's a picture there of this little girl that I know is my first great-grandmother. But it looks so much like my grandmother and my cousin. My first cousin. She looks exactly like my first great-grandmother. And every time I look at that photo, I keep thinking that that's my cousin's standing there in the photo. But it's black and white. It's from the 1800s or early 1800s, late 1800s. No, late 1800s through to early 1900s, I think it is. I would have to go back and have a look. And yeah, it's not late 1800s, because my grandmother wasn't born at the time. And and my first great-grandmother was a little girl in this picture, so in the 1800s, and it's just uncanny about how much my cousin looks like her, all these years later. And it was just, yeah, you find them all through the thing, and some may be related through DNA, some may not. You never know. So until you go research, remember, DNA proves the connection. Genealogy tells the story and tells what's behind it and how you are connected. So keep that in mind. If you want a copy of this book, the link is in the description below. This is a really, really good book that is written in plain English. I don't like a lot of technical terms. If there's technical terms in there, they explain them, but the book is very easy to read. and gives you a great thing of info. It goes through just about everything that you need to know with DNA testing and genetic genealogy. It's an awesome, awesome book. And the link is in the description below. So with that, I am out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening.